Hi everyone, I'm Mitchell and welcome back to Let's Unpack That. Today, I am so excited to have perhaps the individual with the best ability to recognize sound in history and connect it to his memory. I think he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Tyler Dema, welcome to Let's Unpack That. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm ready to unpack everything, it seems. Let's do it.
Before we start unloading the U-Haul, I like to start these episodes with a little bit of levity and fun. I feel like every other day, every week, every hour, I have a new hyperfixation. And sometimes there's not a safe space to express that. It's like so unique or something that you're just frustrated with or annoyed with. And there's just, people don't get it. Mine is Wicked adjacent, and it just happened to unravel in the day leading up to this. So I don't know what the universe was doing, but Beast by Idina Menzel. I don't know if you're on BeastTok.
I'm not on BeastTok. What is that?
Okay, so you know the song Beast by Idina Menzel from summer 2023 where she was frolicking in her garden?
Yes.
So there's this creator named Maddie Brienne, and she started doing this series where it was Beast of the Day. And she would do the Beast dance every single day. And it just has consumed my For You page. Every single day I have a new Beast of the Day. And yesterday it moved me to actually listen to the full song for the first time. I've only ever heard the little chorus that Indina did that dancing video to. And honestly, it's a hit. Beast by Idina Menzel is a bop.
I live.
I've listened to it maybe 50 times in the last 24 hours.
She's hooked.
It's an earworm, and I love it. I'm scared for if I'm going to get a most times listen to one song in a day, and it's going to be Beast by Idina Menzel, which I don't know what that says about me. I think it's actually quite empowering. So that's my hyperfixation.
I have so many.
There's more than one. Please share.
Okay, well, I feel like my biggest one right now that's actually going to be a long-term one is tattoos. I got my first tattoo back in September, right before I left LA to come back to New York. And I already have 3. So I got 3 tattoos in 6 months?
Wow.
6-7 months? Yeah. So my half of my For You page on TikTok is tattoo artists, red flags in tattoo artists. So what's your tattoo ick? Tattoo trends. And I have a whole inspo album on my phone of tattoos I want to get mapped out where they're going on my body. So Tattoos are definitely a big hyperfixation right now. It's going to last a while. But if there's a short-term one, right now I'm really, really obsessed with space. And it's really scary.
Are you wanting to join Katy Perry on that spaceship?
No, not at all. But I'm so fascinated by the fact that, I watched Interstellar. A few weeks ago, which just rocked.
For the first time?
For the first time. I'm kind of speechless about it. But my entire For You page is just talking about how, you always I guess, subconsciously are aware of how vast it is. But then I started getting into rabbit holes of the other life forms that are inevitably out there. If any human thinks that we are the only people in the universe and they're actually just kind of dumb and self-absorbed if they think that there are not other forms of life out there that are most likely a lot more intelligent than we are and are probably watching us and have been watching us. And so when I get into that, it gets a little dark in my brain, but I think space is definitely my hyperfixation at the moment, besides tattoos.
Those are both so intellectual compared to Beast by Idina.
But hey, you'll have an intellectual hyperfixation next week. It's okay. And I'll have one.
I'll get there.
Mine 2 weeks ago was Dove Cameron's new song, Too Much, that she wrote about Ryan McCartan. It's such tea.
I've never heard it. I need to listen.
It's a bop.
Okay. Well, Tyler, we can transition now into you and your story.
I love talking about myself, so that's great.
Perfect. That's what we're going to do for the next 2 hours. So I hope you're excited. To set the stage, who is Tyler Dema?
The 16-bar cut of who I am is I'm New York born and raised. I was born in the Bronx, grew up on Long Island, was always in and out of the city for theater-related everything, whether it was doing shows, taking class, seeing shows, all the above. Kind of knew from a very, very, very young age that not only was I a homosexual, but I was a theater homosexual. So quite the double whammy. And I just kind of always knew that is what I wanted my life to be. And so I went to school down in North Carolina and then continued theater until about really, really recently when I decided I wanted to stop performing. And what I find so interesting about that as a concept is when you ask an actor who they are, they will always say that they're an actor rather than like who they actually are. And so now I'm trying to find the way to answer that question that isn't that. So that's kind of what I want to unpack throughout the rest of this.
We're having a therapy session.
It's like,
we're unpacking Tyler's identity crisis.
Yes. Now that my identity is not Tyler the actor, I know a lot. Like I know that I exist in multitudes and there are lots of layers here. But I do think it is really interesting that if you ever ask a performer like who they are, that's always what they lead with. And I want to stop doing that now that I've kind of like left the performing life behind me. But I feel like that's where it starts. So then we go from there.
Let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up and what was life like there for you?
I like went to high school on Long Island in like on like the South Shore of Long Island, like halfway like out on the island. So I was always very close to the city. And life was pretty, I mean, it was suburban and kind of like low stakes for me. Like I'm the baby of my family, but I've always been not the baby. Like I've always been very independent. I've always known like very much who I was. And I kind of marched to the beat of my own drum and my whole family kind of let me. And I'm very grateful for that, honestly. Like I wasn't someone who ever had a curfew or who had a very like rigid schedule and was forced to do like maybe sports over theater. Like I was always like, this is what I'm doing and this is who I am. And I was always a very responsible kid and I was always a very intelligent kid. Like I did very well in school and just knew that I was kind of creating a path for myself. And I didn't really feel pressure to kind of like live by anybody else's standards, which I'm very grateful for. It was pretty chill.
That's so nice. Having a very like positive upbringing, I could think could definitely be beneficial, especially when you're about to dip your toe into the musical theater life. You came out when you were 14 and accepted yourself pretty early on and then made your way into musicals, theater, the world of being an artist. How did music and theater, how did that enter your life? Do you recall like a first of any sorts, like your first show you were ever in?
Well, the first show I ever saw when I was like a kid was Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. And that makes a lot of sense because we were such a Disney family when I was growing up. So I think the first time I like knew what a musical was when I was watching like Disney movies as a kid. So like Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast were like those are my hyperfixations as a 5-year-old. Like there's literally a mermaid tattooed on my arm. Like I was obsessed with.
Is that one of the 3 tattoos you just got?
That is one of the 3. Yeah. She was my first. The mermaid was my first.
Aw. So you're keeping it alive. You keep your little Disney gay heart.
Yes.
Pumping.
Yes. That'll always be like a part of me. And I was so young when I saw Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, but I have like vivid, like picture perfect memories of being in the theater, exactly where we were sitting, like what like the merch booth looked like on the way out of the theater. Like I can like put myself there very easily.
How old were you when you saw that?
I was probably 6, 7.
Okay.
Like I was young.
I was a similar age when I saw The Lion King for the first time. I think it was a touring show. And then 2 years later, I saw Mary Poppins on Broadway.
Mary Poppins on Broadway was mind blowing. It's like that house, it was crazy.
I'm so glad that like second grade Mitchell's memory of that show is also like, so you're saying it's good because I was like transported and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most magical thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
Yes. It was very obvious that I was never a sports kid. I was kind of figuring out where I really fit. And being so close to the city, and my aunt lived in the city and she saw shows all the time and she would take me. We were very close. And my other aunt, she would like drive me into the city and like the 3 of us would like go see shows a bunch. And I remember the first time I saw the revival of A Chorus Line, which I was way too young to be seeing because that content is quite mature. I think that was the first time that I like really kind of, and I think I was 9 because that revival was like 2006, 2007. So yeah, I was like 9 or 10 when I saw that. And that was my first musical theater obsession, like always listening to the cast album. And then when I found out that it was like all like based on real people, I just like dove deeper into it. I feel like most theater people say that like when they saw Wicked, it changed their life. And that is definitely the case for me. Like when I saw Wicked, it did change my life. But I do always forget that Chorus Line was like my first like real.
It was your gateway drug.
Love. It was. Yeah. It really was. And then when I realized I could do it, I think I was in 8th grade and they were doing You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And I was like, well, I need to be on Broadway one day, so I should start here. And so I auditioned. It was the first show I did. And I got Charlie Brown, and then the rest is history. I was like that musical theater white boy who just got what he got the first time he auditioned. And I was like, I can do this. And then I was really cocky for the rest of the time I was in school until I went to college. And then I was humbled.
Before we get into college, let's talk about high school. So
Sure.
You were like the it boy in the musical program is what I'm getting.
I was. So my brother also did some of the musicals in high school.
Was he in your shadow or were you in his?
Kind of neither. Like when he graduated, I came in the following year. So everyone knew like, okay, like little Dema is coming in.
So you were like carrying on the legacy.
Yes. And then I quickly became like the it girl, like because like my brother was great at the roles that he played. But when I came in, everyone was like, oh, he's like really fucking good. Like I remember, I remember there was, the teacher who was the head of like the choir and she like music directed things. She's this like tall, thin, like curly head. She looked like Mother Gothel from Tangled, like this big curly black hair. And she strutted past me when I was still in middle school. And she was like, Mr. Dema, I heard you have quite the voice. I'll see you next year. And I was like, okay. I was like, oh, okay, we're in it now. I really wanted it and I really worked hard. And I think that's why like it paid off. But so I think there was this kind of notion that, okay, like he's little Dema, he's also doing theater, like he like has a name to live up to. But then I quickly like kind of became my own person. My sophomore year of high school, we were doing Pirates of Penzance, which not many people have heard of. It's actually revived on Broadway right now. I think they started previews literally last night. It was an operetta, like a comedic operetta. And there was someone in high school who it was like, he was like going to be the lead of the show. Like it was obvious, it was like kind of picked for him. And at callbacks, he just like acted like he didn't care. And I think I cared so much that I just like kind of gave it my all. And then I got it as a sophomore.
Ooh, I just know there was a feud.
Oh, have you ever seen Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen with Lindsay Lohan? Okay, that's your required viewing. But
okay,
so okay. I'm like anyway, like it's Megan Fox and Lindsay Lohan, and like Megan Fox is like Lindsay Lohan's understudy, and she puts on her dress because she thinks she's going on, and Lindsay Lohan shows up and she's like, "Get out of my dress." I've definitely had like that moment that year with that. It was. You have to watch that movie. My God.
Okay, I'm on it.
By like junior year, I was like on the board of our department, ITS, International Thespian Society. And I was taking us to conferences and I was like doing the whole thing. Like we went to the Shakespeare Festival at a university that was like close to our high school. We did that every year and like we always won like best ensemble or whatever it was. It was like, we took it really seriously. And then by senior year, I was president and we did How to Succeed, which was definitely like, it was so obviously picked for me. Like, and I'm not saying that in like a cocky way. Like I was so close to my director. She like really believed like my star power, I think. And one thing that she always said to me that really stuck with me was that I was very fearless whenever I was on stage. And I think that's why she admired what I did so much. And that means more to me than like, you sing really well. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I made that name for myself pretty quickly. And I was no longer like little Dema. I was Tyler.
Yeah, you were the Dema. What other shows did you do in high school besides How to Succeed?
I did a lot of community theater when I was in high school. Oh my gosh, I did Legally Blonde like 3 times. I did West Side Story. I did Hairspray a bunch. I was Ren and Footloose. Like I was doing everything. There were a few theaters that I was going around just doing a bunch of things. I got a lot of really cool shows under my belt to like put in my resume for college that like kind of built my type a little.
You were building the resume. You were being
Yeah,
very
for sure.
well-rounded. In Wisconsin, there wasn't as many like fun opportunities. Like I did a little bit of like community theater when I was like in elementary school and middle school, but then once I got to high school, it was really just like the high school program. At least that's what I limited myself to, because I was also like a big choir kid. We had like our annual musicals, and we did Fiddler, Cinderella, Mary Poppins, and Joseph. That's a good combo. It was
Yeah, you got
fun.
a lot of golden age in there.
During high school, you're doing all these shows. Is there any time, like, are you talking to guys at all? Are you just like so head down on the grind?
There weren't a lot of gay people like in my high school, or like at least ones that were out or ones that I wanted to pursue. But also, you're so young. Like, how do you even like?
Yeah.
Ugh. My first like actual like relationship, I think I was 16, dating someone who was older than me that I probably should not have been dating, or he probably should not have been dating me. We met doing one of those community theater shows, and I was with him for like on and off like 2 years until I went to college, and I was like, I need to be by myself now.
This whole time, did you know you wanted to pursue this like in college, or was there like a moment where you're like, yes, I want this to be my career?
I like never gave it a second thought. I was waking up in the morning to go to school, just to get through the school day, to get to rehearsal for the school show, to then have an hour break to eat dinner and get my homework done, to then go to one rehearsal for a show at whatever community theater I was at that night. And then the next night it would be the other one. And I would just be like alternating. And like theater just very quickly just became my life. And when I knew that you could go to school for it, because that's how you get an agent, get on Broadway, and like kind of start that whole career, and never gave it a second thought. I was just like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Like I didn't even talk to my parents about it. I chose what schools I wanted to audition for. I recorded my pre-screens, which is essentially just like an initial audition video for colleges. You send it to them. They decide if they want to invite you to audition on campus. I sent pre-screens to 8 schools. I got asked to come audition for all of them. So then you also have to get accepted to the school academically as well as the musical theater program. I was a very good student. I got into all my schools academically. And then when I got all my audition dates, I literally just went to my dad and I was like, these are the cities we need to go to. These are the dates, book the flights, and let's go. Like I honestly, I just did it all myself.
Go getter. You determined.
Yeah, that's gone now. Like, no, I'm like, I'm chilling.
Well, you like worked hard to then get where you are today, right? So like
Yeah.
it all paid
Totally
off.
ran out of steam. Yeah.
Yeah. What made you end up choosing Elon?
When I realized that this is a competitive game, I realized that when I had all these auditions coming up, I probably should get a coach. I was really obsessed with Newsies, the musical Newsies on Broadway.
Okay.
And one of the actors in Newsies, his name is Adam Kaplan, he like posted on his Instagram that he was offering college audition coaching. And I was like, this seems like a great fit. Like, I feel like he's a type that I can kind of emulate. I'm a big fan of his work. I'm a big fan of the show he's in. I live in the city. Like, I can do in-person sessions. Why not do it? So I started coaching with him. And what I didn't realize at the time was I was essentially getting Elon's training through Adam, because the tools he was giving me to like go through my monologue and how to kind of present myself in an audition room, he was giving me Elon's like curriculum.
Yeah.
During my audition process, my dream school was Penn State, because I was like, I feel like that kind of checked the boxes. It was an amazing program, a great school to have on your resume. And it's definitely a school that you will get a college experience. You're on campus. You can go to a football game when you don't want to go to dance. Like, you know what I mean? It kind of gives you all of that. I thought I was going there. Like, I really thought I was getting in. Like, my audition was great, and they do like a callback interview. So if you're not asked for a callback interview on the day of your audition, you're not in contention anymore. But I got a callback interview and we chatted and it was great. And I really thought I was going there. And Elon was my last audition day. I think I got snowed out. Like, there was a really bad snowstorm in North Carolina, and like North Carolina doesn't know how to handle snow. So they like shut everything down. My dad and I were like, we don't know if we should go down to Elon. I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to Penn State. It doesn't even matter that I can audition for Elon. I'm not going there. And then I get my Penn State decision and I was not accepted. And I was crushed, but I was also like, okay, I guess I should go to Elon. My dad called them and they were like, we're actually having a makeup audition day for the people who couldn't come for the snowstorm. So my dad and I fly down like a week later. And we tell Adam, I was like, hey, Adam, I'm going to Elon this weekend. And he's like, great, I'm going to tell the head of the program that you're coming. So I arrive to the audition day at Elon, and it is me and one other girl, which is not how auditions work. Like when you're auditioning for colleges, like on your audition day, it's like 100 kids and like everyone's split up into groups. You're doing like a dance call of like 20 people, 30 people maybe at a time. And then you each get audition appointments and you go in. It was me and one other girl auditioning for this program. So like our dance call was just me and her. Like and so when we went in to like sing, like we each kind of were able to go in there for like 20 minutes and just like yap. 2 days later, the head of the program called me and she was like, you can stop worrying. We want you to come to Elon. And like, that's what happened. And I called Adam and I was like, Adam, thanks for all your training because I'm going to Elon. And yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
So cool. How was your transition from the city to then going to school at Elon?
I mean, the change of pace was definitely like, I'm like, oh, people are really nice here. I was so excited to finally be on my own and be like, listen, I can make my own decisions. I make my schedule. I do my thing. But like I said earlier, like in high school, I was the boy who got handed everything, even though I did work hard for those things. And then now I became like a really small fish in a really big pond. My first year at Elon, when I was like, oh, I wasn't in any shows this year. Like, that sucks. But then I was like one of the first people in my class to like book summer stock. So like to book performing work over the summer. And I was like, great, we're going to come back guns a-blazing sophomore year. And then sophomore year, I booked no shows yet again. By junior fall, I am the only person in my class who has not been in a show yet.
At Elon, yeah.
At Elon.
Wow.
At Elon. I worked both summers, like, and was doing good shows. I was doing Chicago. I did Sister Act. I did a chorus line. Like, I was doing shows, and I was very happy to finally get paid to like do theater. But something about not booking them at Elon, I was kind of just like, what am I paying for? Like, yes, the training, of course, but I'm also like, I want experience. Like, I want to perform here.
And it feels kind of like a contradiction too. Like, you're getting these professional gigs, but then like the school isn't casting you in roles that I'm sure you were very well suited for and could do well.
Totally.
Like, it's almost like your first taste of what auditioning would be like in the future.
Exactly. And that's a perfect segue because that's honestly what it taught me. It's like I learned very early on that there are going to be so many things that I'm right for and that I can do good work for, and I'm not going to get. And so it really taught me how to handle rejection before I got to the real world, which I'm so thankful for. And it also gave me the opportunity to focus on training and like, okay, I'm great. I don't have to be in rehearsal from 6 to 10 tonight when all my other classmates are. Great. I'm going to go in a studio and practice these songs for my voice lesson, go through my rep, or I'm going to go and rehearse these dance calls that I know, like that I was just taught in class today. Like, so I really got to focus my energy elsewhere. And then I started getting a lot of attention from the acting program.
How did that happen?
Musical theater majors are, at Elon at least, are required to audition for all the plays and all the musicals every year. So in the fall, we have to prep for the musical auditions and the plays. So like we have to get monologues, whatever.
Is there several of each going on?
There's 2 each semester/quarter because we also do a January term, a winter term. So
got it.
There's fall play, fall musical, winter play, winter musical, spring play, spring musical. So the 6 shows every year. But my sophomore year, I started dating an acting major a year below me. We were together for the rest of the time that I was at Elon. Because he was in the acting program, I kind of gained a stronger appreciation for that specific avenue rather than only focusing on like being in the musicals. So apparently there was an unspoken rule that I was not aware of that if by junior year you're a musical theater major who hasn't been in a musical, you like automatically have to be in the fall musical. I'm like, okay, cool. I wish someone told me that. So the fall musical was Hello Dolly, but the fall play was this play called American La Ronde. And I really wanted to be in American La Ronde, and I was supposed to be in that play, but they apparently have meetings, like the directors of each show have meetings to see if anybody that they cast has overlapped. Mm-hmm. And the director of the play was like, I want Tyler for this role. And the head of my program was like, well, Tyler needs to be in Hello Dolly, which pissed me off because I'm like, this would have been such a more like valuable experience for me. Like if I was able to.
Why don't they ask you which one do you want to do?
Exactly. Because that would take forever because they overlap a lot of other people, but whatever. Yeah. And then my junior year, I was Orsino in 12th Night. So in the spring Shakespeare, I was like one of the leads of that. So I was like, wow, I'm being more appreciated in the acting program than I am in the musical theater program. And that should have been my first sign, honey. I see how it is. No taken.
Was there like anything as you were getting closer to graduating from the program that you feel like Elon did to particularly prepare you for the professional world?
One thing that I will always lift Elon up for is how they handle the whole like agent process. Most programs, the senior class would do like a senior showcase, and you go to New York for a week and you rent out a 54 Below or a Green Room 42, which is just like a cabaret space, and you invite just a bunch of casting directors, agents, and like everyone sings a song, which is effective for the singer actors a lot of the time. But then you have the dancers who are maybe not shining in that environment. Or you have like really, really good people who have great work ethic who kind of get overlooked by maybe someone who is belting their face off and seems really marketable, but they're like an awful person. And so what I really like about what Elon does is it's called the Casting Director Series. And essentially what happens is by senior year, each class is responsible for, I don't love this part about it, but each class is responsible for raising around 20 grand. And in the spring of senior year, there's kind of a roster of a bunch of agencies and casting offices that we bring a rep down from each one of those, maybe like 1 or 2 per weekend. We invite them down to Elon. We put them up. We drive them to and from the airport. We do a full dance call for them. So they get to see everybody dance, and we break it up by level. And then each person gets an individual like appointment time to go in. You sing 2 songs. They might ask you for something else from your book, or maybe they'll give you notes to do a song again, or they just like talk to you. They're like, I just want to know who you are. Like, where do you see yourself? Like, what are you doing? Where are you from? All that. And then after that, we like take them out to dinner, and we just get to talk about the industry or New York or their dogs or their husbands, and just like really get to know them as people. And it really fosters this relationship that I don't think you can achieve when you're just doing a like cabaret where each person just gets up and sings for 3 minutes and then they leave. That's how I signed with my agency. They signed me pretty immediately after they came down. That is something that I think Elon does really well, because having an agent is what is going to get you into the room and get you all these appointments, especially like because most people who are graduating college are not part of the Actors Equity Union yet. And so it's hard to get into those rooms when you don't have your equity card yet, because you're now competing with all these people who have been pounding the pavement in New York for the past 20 years. So when you have an agent who can represent you and your talent and your work and your brand, then that really gives you a step up.
What is that relationship with an agent like? Like, are they looking out for castings that you're well suited for and like submitting you in advance and then bringing it to you and being like, hey, Tyler, I have this and that opportunity for you? Or what is that communication and process like?
Pretty much. This is a touchy conversation for me because my relationship with my agents was really great at the beginning, and then it kind of became not that. I'm no longer with them because obviously I'm not performing anymore. And the biggest thing for me was the communication style. But yes, generally what happens is agents receive a breakdown for, let's just use Wicked because it's easy. Let's say that Wicked is a brand new musical coming to Broadway. Every agency gets a breakdown of every role and like what the requirement of that role. And they can kind of go through their roster, see which clients fit which tracks, and then they can submit a bunch of people to the casting office.
And a track is like a different character, right?
Yes and no. So like Elphaba is a track, but then like the ensemble girl number 6 who covers Elphaba, her track is like what she does in the show every night when she's in the ensemble, as well as covering Elphaba. So say when she leaves, the person who's filling that track needs to fill what that person did in the ensemble and also cover Elphaba.
So it's like the responsibilities of each person in the company.
Correct. So it's all that individual person's like role, where they're going, small bit parts they play throughout the show, which line of the harmonies they sing. A swing is someone who is off stage every night, but they cover multiple tracks. So a swing can cover anything from like 3 tracks to like 8 or 10, depending on like the workload of the show, whatever. So yeah, a track is essentially what you are physically doing in the show, as well as everything you cover. Does that make sense?
Yeah, swing life sounds pretty intense. There's this guy I saw on TikTok this week who's in Wicked, and he just started a corporate job.
That's my friend Hunter. Yes, that's my friend Hunter. Yeah,
I'm like, how are you doing this? I'm like, how are
Yeah.
you doing both those things? It's just crazy. How does your brain have the capacity for that?
Yeah, and he's also a swing on the tour too. So sometimes they can call him and they'll be like, "Hey, we need you to come meet us in the city and like do this track." It's crazy. He's a superstar. He has a brain that just does that. Mine could not. Every job I've ever had, especially post grad, I've always been in the ensemble and I've always covered like the lead of the show. And even that is enough for me. I'm like having to worry about 2 tracks is enough to do. Sometimes I look at their like, they call them their Bibles, like their swing binders, and everything's color coded and like writing tracks. It's like you're behind Andy in Dancing Through Life, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like way too much. It's the hardest job in the biz. I give them so much credit.
They deserve awards. Dang.
Yeah, they do. They do. Anyway, agents. So yeah, so they essentially submit their clients for what they think they're right for. They're kind of like the middleman between like casting and the actor. So they do all communication, and then once you get the job, they do all the negotiation and everything like that. They're also good for like intel, like if say you auditioned for something 3 months ago and you're like, am I in the running? Like, do we know anything that's going on? They can kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge to casting and be like, what's the status? Yeah.
Yeah, and get the yeah.
Yeah, and they can get you into those rooms. So if you know that there's like an equity chorus call for Moulin Rouge next week, but you know appointments are going to be the week after, save yourself the time, go do your shift at your coffee shop, make your money, take a day off, get some rest, because you know that your agent can get you into the room for the appointments the following week. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you aren't like having to sit outside for hours and hours and hours and waiting because you actually have an appointment. Got it.
Correct.
When you graduate Elon and move back to the city, you had kind of said that it was a good relationship with your agents at first. Like, what's that initial jumpstart of your career like?
My situation was kind of a 1% story.
Okay.
So, and I say that because, so I remember my friend Jake, who is very talented, got a lot at Elon. He's tall, white, muscular, pretty, has a beautiful voice, beautiful hair. Like
Perfect.
he's got everything. And so we're like, okay, he's probably gonna be the first one to book Broadway. He booked Broadway before we even graduated. I was getting really like, I was like, I'm so like, I'm happy for him, but I'm also jealous. And my voice teacher like talked me off the ledge. She's like, Tyler, that happens to 1% of people. You're all gonna have to go to New York and like bust your ass. That's not normal. Like, yeah, it's he right place, right time. He's right for it. Great. And I'm like not faulting him for that at all. But also when the rest of my class of 16 people are like, I want to be on Broadway next month. Like, you know? Yeah. So now this is full circle moment. So buckle up. So Adam Kaplan, Newsies, my college audition coach, got me into Elon essentially.
Your good friend.
Yes. My close personal friend, Adam Kaplan. He texted me like a month before graduation. And he was like, hey, do you know of anybody who wants to go in for the Bronx Tale tour? They're having some trouble filling a couple tracks. I was like, yes, Adam, me. And he was like, oh, for sure. Okay, send me your headshot and resume, and I'm going to send it along to the associate choreographer. Actually, this was a week before graduation. A week, not a month. 1 week. This was in May. Thrill. Yeah. So I graduate Elon. I pack up my entire apartment. I pack up my car. I drive back to New York. The next day, I have my initial dance call for the Bronx Tale tour. The choreographer was given my name and my headshot, so he kind of knew to look out for me. And when that happens, like, it's nice because you know that they're going to pay extra attention to you, but it's also stressful because they're going to pay extra attention to you, you know? So I survived the dance call, and then I went in to do the packet for like the 3 like friends, like the 3 guys who have to dance the show and sing like 4-part barbershop quartet harmonies, and then also be like racist Italian, like macho bros from the Bronx. And I was like, okay, we're putting on our mask for mask, like personality now. And it went really well. And then I left the studio. My agents called me about 30 minutes later, and they're like, they want you for final callbacks tomorrow. They send me all the material that I have to learn. So they're considering me for the cover of the lead. So I have to also learn his material so I could do it in front of the entire team tomorrow.
So how much are you having to learn overnight?
The packet for the boys I had already learned, but that was, I think, 2 songs and like a monologue-ish.
And you're off book, for, I'm assuming, for this final round, no?
You don't have to be. I always believe in holding the paper just as a safety net, because I also think that if you come in like not holding the paper, then they're going to expect like a opening night fully polished performance. And then if you don't deliver that, that doesn't look great. That's how I feel.
Expectations, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I got off book for the song because I'm like, okay, I can put a melody and lyrics in my brain, but for the scenes, I'm going to want to hold the paper. But you familiarize yourself. So I had a day.
How much time would you usually spend doing all of that, like preparing?
If I got it in one night, I'd just be working on it all night. I'd probably no sleep. I'd have the songs. I'd play them over and over and over again. How you did with Beast by Dina Menzel. I just play it over and over again until I have it all in my brain. Next day I go in, we danced in the morning, and then I went in to do all of the Mario stuff and the Nick stuff. We were like the friends. I go in, I do all of that, and then they're like, do we have anything else? And he was like, yeah, like we gave him the closure understudy stuff. And the director of the show behind the table, he goes, makes that face. He looks disgusted. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not booking this. Great. And so the cast director looks at me. He's like, can you sit outside for a second? I was like, sure can.
What's this director look like? Like, what's his vibe? Like, what, if it's going to be a character that someone could picture in their head? Like, are we giving like old man? Or are we giving like the director from Smash? Like, what's?
No, it's giving old man. Like, have you ever seen? Do you know like the Marvel movies? He kind of looks like Stan Lee, but like a little meaner.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm
like
seeing it. Okay.
Old white man.
Okay.
And I don't know if he was sick of the material. I don't know if he didn't see me as that, but the cast director came out and he's like, I think we're good for the day. And that could mean anything. It really depends. It really could mean that they saw all they needed to see, or it could mean that you're not running anymore. Then about 2 days later, Adam Kaplan calls me and he says, hey, like, how did it go? I was like, oh, like, I think it went really well. Like, I just kind of talked through the day, and I was like, yeah, I'm hopeful, but I don't really know. Like, they didn't have me do the closure material. And it was very obvious that he wanted to say something. He was like, okay, don't celebrate yet because like you have to wait for agents to call you, but they called me and they really loved you and you're going to get an offer. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I just graduated college a week ago and now I'm about to go on tour.
That's crazy.
And lo and behold, about 2 hours later, my agents called me with the offer.
Dang. So which one did you get?
I was Crazy Mario and I understudied the lead, and I was the first cover for the lead. Yeah, I actually went on for a week for the lead right before everything shut down. The week before the pandemic.
Oh, so this is like right before COVID. Okay. Before you had that abrupt halt, how many cities did you get to go to and perform in?
We did a lot. So it was a non-union tour. We actually had a really good schedule for a non-union tour. Typically, those tours have like one-nighters, which are really rough, and you're just doing one night in one city and you pack up and leave. We actually had like 1 week or 2 week long sit downs, but they were pretty good. Like we got to go to like West Palm Beach. We got to go to Detroit. I had my put in. So put in is when you, like when a person is going into a new track or like their understudy track, they do the show with the entire cast and like full lights and everything. And I got to do the put in North Carolina in the theater that I saw all tours go through while I was in college. And that was really cool. And so when I was in Durham, everybody from school came, my voice teacher came.
Awesome.
Like it was a really cool, like full circle kind of moment.
Almost like a feeling of like making it to a degree. That's so cool. That's awesome.
It was really great. Yeah.
You were alluding to it all shutting down in March. When that all happens, like how do you try to like figure out what's next? I mean, you have been spending years and years like working towards this, and then like your springboard, like the springs break as you're about to jump off of it.
Yeah.
how do you feel when that happens, and what do you do?
When it comes to the industry, there was a lot of comfort in knowing that we were all kind of facing the same fate. Like when you're an actor and you're not acting, or you're not performing and you're not booked in a show, and you see all your friends booking, like that's a lot more difficult to endure than when nobody is working because there is no work. In the grand scheme of things, like my pandemic experience was actually pretty positive in the sense that like when we were shut down, I was over in LA. So I spent like 2 months in LA, just like chilling, vibing. Then I eventually went to my best friend from college. I went to her family's home in West Palm Beach in Florida. So like,
Okay.
we had our pool, and like I got to work out, and like I had the sun. So like it was, I kind of was like, okay, I did my little tour. I'm now like, I don't really have any responsibilities. I can just like watch seasons of Survivor and like bake in the sun and like collect my unemployment.
Yeah.
But then it started to get old. And then I was really grateful that when things started opening up, like I was one of the first like shows to be done before, like when things started opening up. I booked a like co-production of Mamma Mia, I think fall of 2020.
Okay. What's next from that?
I did Bronx Tale again at a regional theater. Same track that I did. And that was actually really cool because it was not, so the tour that I did was a carbon copy of the first tour that went out, which was a carbon copy of the Broadway production. So same costumes, same choreography, same direction, same everything. Funny enough, my understudy costume for Calogero, in the tag, it said Adam Kaplan because he played that role on Broadway. Like when I tell you full circle, like
Adam just keeps following you everywhere you go.
No, seriously, I owe my life to him. I tell him every time I see him, I'm like, dude, like you literally changed my life. I did Kinky Boots, which was a dream show of mine to do, an absolute dream. And we had the Broadway costumes and wigs, which was, it was so fierce because I think I saw that show like 8 times and it was on Broadway. Like, and like the box office girls knew me. Like if I had nothing to do,
again.
No, literally. I got out of class. I was done with high school, done for the day. I got out at like 2:30. I was like, I want to go see Kinky Boots tonight. I would take the train to the city and I would go to the box office and I was like, hey, Diva, do you have anything for like $30-$40? And she was like, I'll give you a box seat for $35. And she would do that for me almost every time. And so I would see that show and I would sit in the box and like watch this show and be in love with the material because it was so fun. It was so feel good. It's about acceptance and just like celebrating yourself and just like being authentically you. But I was also enamored by the angels, the drag queens, and just like wanting to be them and like looking at their heels and their costumes and being like, I want to wear that. And I did. Another full circle moment. And I remember our last show, I turned to my friend and I was like, isn't it so? And like saying this just to say it, which is very morbid of me. But I was like, isn't it crazy? Like that could have been our last time like on a stage. And reader, it was Tyler's last time on a stage.
Oh no, why?
Because that was the last show I did. And I just haven't done anything since, and I don't want to.
Take us through that decision. Why did you want to stop performing?
I think a lot of things came into play. I think at that point, I've been very grateful that I worked a lot. I really was working a lot, especially like immediately after COVID. I think a lot of actors were really struggling trying to like get back into the groove of things. And I was pretty grateful to have had work. So I was getting a little burnt out and I told my agents, I was like, I think I need to take a break for a little bit. And I was like, I'll consider auditioning for things that I think are worth my time, i.e. like Broadway or a tour, something that'll give me longevity, something that'll pay me well enough. Or if it's something regional, it has to be something I really, really want to do. So I started getting pretty selective with what I was auditioning for. And then I like really cool things came my way, like appointments for Broadway for dream shows that I got callbacks for and then was doing really well, but then like ultimately didn't get. And then I was feeling, I ultimately just started feeling a little uninspired, a little unfulfilled. It was not sparking joy in the way that it used to. And as I mentioned, I spent the first couple months of lockdown in LA, and I felt like I had like unfinished business there, because when I was there, it was COVID, wasn't really normal life. There were so many friends that I had out there who were supposed to see my show who didn't, obviously, because it was canceled, and then I didn't get to see them. And I just felt like LA was calling me in a way. So a like 3-month sublet situation kind of fell into my lap.
And when is this?
Year.
Give us like a time frame.
This was last year. So this was I think I did like a week-long visit last March, and then in July, like the first week of July, I went out there for a little like 3-month like trial period. And I just got out of a relationship of like a year and a half, and I was unfulfilled by theater, and I just want to get out of the city, and it just felt like a really serendipitous like moment in time to just like try something new. And honestly, just being out of New York and being out of like the musical theater circuit really just put a lot of things into perspective for me, that there are other things in life that I want to experience and that I want to enjoy. While I was in LA, I wasn't missing the hustle and bustle of New York and like pounding the pavement to get seen at all these auditions and like getting nothing back. And it just wasn't really jiving with who I think I was becoming. I just turned 27, so my Saturn return was hitting, and which is just, I don't know how much you know about that, but like for those listening who don't, it's like kind of it's from like when you're 27 to like 31, and it's the period of time when your Saturn is returning in its orbit, and you're kind of ridding yourself of the things that don't serve you anymore, and you're kind of finding your path and realizing who you are. And mine just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like my Saturn is literally on my arm. It's my second tattoo that I got. Can you see it?
So
like,
cool.
No. But
no, I can. It's so, the detail and the shading is incredible.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much. I love her. And I was just like, listen, I don't miss anything about it. And I realized that while I was here, I didn't want to go to dance class 3 times a week, and I didn't want to pay $150 on a voice lesson every week, because I also couldn't afford that. Like, it wasn't jiving with the lifestyle I think I was learning that I wanted to have. And I had a couple auditions here and there while I was in LA, like to come back here. But then I realized there were all auditions that I was getting for myself and that my agents were not getting for me. Like there were other things that I went to an ECC, so I was called back for, or I had really good relationships with that casting director and they wanted to bring me in for this. And so I would come back and forth, which I was like, why am I wasting my time coming back and forth to New York for a job that I don't even have yet? And then not getting it, and then realizing there are so many things that are not in my control that go into me getting this job. And when I realized that I'm the type of person who needs to be in control of my fate and my destiny, maybe this is not the hand in the game that I want to be playing. And then on top of all of that, my relationship with my agents was so bad that I'm like, I don't think I can survive in an industry where you don't know anything. You feel like all the odds are stacked against you. And at the same time, my agents are not even like in my corner. Like, I don't even feel like they're supporting me or my career or my journey or the trajectory of my career. And I was just like, this is just not, I don't think this is what I want. And at first I wasn't sold, because I was like, I mean, the first entire half of this podcast, I'm talking about how theater was my entire life. And it really was. And so it's like, how do you let go of something that you dedicated half your life to at this point? And then you kind of have to flip that script and be like, well, how much life do I have left? A lot, if I'm lucky, So it's like, you kind of have to mourn the death of that dream that like might not come true anymore. But then I think about the fact that, what did I say before? Like 1% of people get to go on tour right after they graduate. I got to do 2 of my absolute dream shows, Newsies, Kinky Boots. I got to like do those and like play the roles that I wanted to play. And then when I realized that like there are other facets of the industry that I can kind of thrive in, and realized that maybe the performing isn't it just started to make a lot more sense. I love theater people to death. Oh my God. And I want to work with them, and I want to go into casting and I want to make their dreams come true. But I'm like, the people that work are the ones who are so aggressive about it. And that is not my energy at all. So I'm like, then when I'm kind of just like, listen, Ty, you're not going to survive in this industry having this attitude.
Yeah.
But I don't want to change my attitude about it. So what do I have to change? My circumstance? And it's like, listen, if this isn't even bringing me joy anymore, why am I even entertaining the idea? I firmly believe that like when you're done with it, you will know. And the day that I was like, oh, I know, I was so at peace, like you wouldn't believe. Like I literally felt like the weight of the world was lifted off of my shoulders and I could finally breathe. And I could be like, now I can explore all those things in my life that I wanted to. And I don't have to tie myself down to just doing this one thing that will keep me in New York and might make me unhappy and will exhaust me. And like, think about the fact that if you're on Broadway, first of all, it's a physically taxing job. And like the people who are dancing 8 times a week on these raked stages are superstars and they take care of their bodies way more than anybody else in the world. But it's like, think about all the other things you have to sacrifice. Like you can't really date someone who has a 9-to-5 job because when they're off from work, you're going to the theater, you're going to work and you're there till 10:30. And then if you live all the way uptown, like you're commuting another hour. And then when they have their weekends, you're at your busiest. You're at work all day, both days. And then when holidays roll around, the holiday schedules are grueling. And then you can't spend time with your loved ones, maybe like one day. And you're doing more shows in the week. And it's just like exhausting. And I'm like, listen, the people who love it, love it. And if you love that and nothing else, and that is what you should be doing. And I firmly believe that. And I fully celebrate those people. But when I started to think about all of these things and kind of mix them into this cocktail, it was like, I don't think this is for me anymore. And when I really was at peace with that, that's when I kind of knew I was ready to put it to bed.
Yeah.
So
it was almost like such a big part of your life. And maybe it wasn't performing exactly that, but it was the industry and getting to work in that field and support these people and have that like family and team. But you seem to perhaps have found a way to continue to keep that passion alive through casting. Because I'm sure you've had your fair share of perhaps traumatizing casting experiences. What made you want to pivot to casting and what has that been like so far?
I think that seed was always kind of there. Even when I was pursuing performing, I think I knew like down the line, I either wanted to go into directing or choreographing or casting. And it was honestly the TikTok stuff that kind of really opened my eyes to it because I mean, the Elphaba roulettes were a thing of like, listen, I'm realizing now I'm an encyclopedia.
When did that all start for you?
It was all accidental. I did not even have TikTok on my phone until August of last year, maybe July, because I got to LA and I was like, okay, everybody in LA just like dances on TikTok or like yaps on TikTok. So maybe I should download TikTok. So I did. And I was posting cute little transition videos, little dances in parking garages and like nothing was sticking. And then I come back home and I have a week in Fire Island with my friends and it's September. So it's colder out there. Not a lot of parties are happening. So we honestly just spent a lot of time in the house. And we were just like fooling around on YouTube and like, I think a Wicked video came up or I think I was like, yeah, like I can guess probably any Elphaba that you play me, by the way. And they're like, no, you can't. I'm like, I literally can like record it. I'll prove it to you. And so, and if you go back, like Elphaba Roulette Part 1, it's this grainy video. It's like not even good. Like I'm not lit well. It's not good quality. Like we're in like a Fire Island house. It is not the same setup that I have. It was a fluke. And I was like, this is really funny. Let me post this on TikTok. And then everyone was like, I need part 2. I was like, huh? And they're like, you need to make this a series. I was like, huh? But then I realized it's such a good formula because so TikTok thrives on engagement and when people like watch videos all the way through, especially ones that are like longer than 60 seconds, like that whole thing. So because the show is so mainstream and it's been on for 2 decades, people are watching the whole video through because they want to see if their Elphaba is in it. And then when they're not in it, they comment and they're like, where is Jackie Burns? And then I'm like, okay, guess I got to make part 2. Oops. So then I make part 2 and then the same thing happens. And then it's just like a cycle and a cycle and a cycle. But it's like, I think it worked because of that. People watching them all the way through, they're commenting, they're engaging, they're waiting to see someone. And then like people from other countries started to chime in. They'd be like, are you going to do any like West End girls? Like, what about the Australian girlies? I'm like, oh my God, yes, love the Australian girlies. Like, let's get them in there. And then it just like kind of spiraled from that. And then people were like, how does he know all of them? Like people were like, I don't even know the names of this many people like in my life. Like, how is this? And I was like, damn, maybe this really is something like special. Like I just never thought about it. Like I was just like, this is just something I know.
How do you think you accumulated this skill? Like, have you spent a lot of time just listening to every single performance of?
Yes. I was just obsessed. Like when I first saw it, like I said, like my life has changed. I was like, oh my God, this show's amazing. And I just became obsessed. I was a bootleg collector and I just wanted to learn about all these women who played these roles. And I was so fascinated by their different takes and how they sang the score differently and how their voices lent themselves to the character. And what I thought was something that I like made an impactful Elphaba versus like one that maybe I didn't personally just jive with as much. So I just kind of consumed all of it. But I also think that I have kind of an encyclopedic brain and just a good ear for this, which I think also ties into casting, which I guess I'll get there. But it's like, so then people were like, okay, like if he knows all of them, like who's his favorite? Who are favorite Glindas? Who are favorite Elphabas? So then I made a video on that and like not only being like, well, this Elphaba is the best. I was like, no. These are my personal favorites for these reasons. And I would put clips of like snippets of their performances that I thought were really impactful or that moments that I thought were very nuanced and just like really like created a gorgeous portrayal of this character. And then I realized you can't make a video like that unless you have a deep understanding for that character and the world that they live in. And then people were like, you really need to go into casting because like, who does this? And I was like, Diva, who I don't know, who's in my TikTok comments, you are correct. And but it's like sometimes you like need someone else to be like, hey, this is like maybe what you should be doing. And then so like that seed was planted even more. And I was like, I started thinking about it a lot more. And then different shows started inviting me to come see them and then like talk about them on TikTok. And then I realized I had a really good vocabulary for breaking down like kind of the meat and potatoes of the show and like realizing that my intellect with theater was much stronger than my physical talent within theater. And I was like, maybe that's what I need to start honing in on. So that's how the TikTok stuff kind of blew up, but then it also kind of led into the casting journey. And so when I realized that maybe that's something I wanted to explore, in all my years of auditioning, I gained really strong relationships with a bunch of casting directors. And that's like where you're winning in the industry, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to book the job. But if you're booking the room and you're winning the people who are behind the table, like that's where the building blocks come. And like, that's how you start to build a career and kind of get to those places and get in those bigger rooms and then ultimately book that job. And so every time I go into the room, I was making sure I was doing really good work and putting my best self forward and engaging with the people who were behind the table. And that really helped me in my casting journey because then I started reaching out to those casting directors and being like, I think I want to do this. And I got a lot of different responses from different ones that I talked to. Like some of them were like, okay, I'll give you the tools to like build a resume and you can put me as a reference and maybe start reaching out to like smaller casting offices and like the theaters that they work for. Whereas other ones were like, whenever I need someone, an extra set of hands in the room, like I'll call you.
Okay.
And then others were like, okay, we're actually looking for an assistant. Like send us a resume. Let's have an interview. Like let's do the whole thing. And a lot of really cool opportunities have come from that. My first one starts tomorrow and I'm really excited for it. And it's the first time I'm like getting paid to assist in a casting process. And I'm going to be in auditions and I'm going to be
That's awesome.
Just helping out and just like seeing how it goes. I think it's going to be a really cool way to kind of scratch that itch and like use and kind of like hone in on those skills that I've been meaning to use. And like what you said before, it's like maybe I was meant to work in theater, but I was just like doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. Or it was leading you to this, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, yes. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and first off, congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
But I feel like you're going to be able to bring like a fresh sense of empathy into that room because you've been in those shoes and you know like what these people are going through and the challenges that they're facing. So you'll be able to like, you know, hopefully be a friendly face or not giving somebody bullshit like I'm sure a lot of people behind a casting table do.
I really appreciate you saying that because that is one thing that I think would make me a casting director and or director if I want to go down that road that actors want to work with, because I've been in situations where I hated the way I was spoken to as a performer and the way I was communicated to or the way that notes were given to me. And it's not a good feeling. And I think you're going to get the best version of your actor if you communicate to them in a way that is respectful and that is human. I do think that will be a huge strength of mine. So I really appreciate you saying that. It's very kind.
Of course. I mean, I think it's a huge value add that you bring. And I hope that those people in the casting offices can see that, because you would think it's like you would want both the team behind the show as well as the people that are spending time out of their day, whether it's an appointment that they're there for or if they're standing in line for hours, like they're sacrificing so much to be there. Like the least you can do is treat them with an ounce of kindness, even if you don't love their performance.
Exactly.
So exciting. I would love to hear more about, like, once you get more into the casting world, like what you learn and what it's like on the other side. If you were to cast someone in Wicked as the roles of Elphaba and Glinda who have not already played the characters, is there a duo that comes to mind for you?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I would have to think about that. Like, are you talking like
anyone,
celebrities?
Anyone that you think would be really good in your personal preference, like just like based on what you like the best in each of those characters, who do you think could embody it?
I really want to see a Dove Cameron Glinda. The rumor mill says that it was between her and Ari. Like down to the final two is between her and Ari. I don't know how entirely true that is, but I do think she would be an exceptional Glinda. She's the epitome of like privilege, I think. Like, or she could emulate that of just like a sweet, effortlessly gorgeous, blonde girl with a beautiful soprano. I think she could bring a really cool, like fresh young take to Glinda. I don't know if that would be well suited, like more suited for the movie or for Broadway.
Would you want her in the movie instead of Ariana?
I wouldn't say instead of, but I would not be mad at another universe in which there was a Dove Glinda.
Got it. Okay. Would you be against her being cast for the stage production?
No. I think she'd be great.
Okay.
I think she'd be great. Except she's totally like very much a different personality. She like dyed her hair black and like became a little goth for a sec. And I think is dating women now.
Yeah, I think she's kind of becoming like a gay pop diva a little bit.
Okay, fierce. Like I live for that. I live. If I had to pick an Elphaba, oh my gosh. I'm going to say my best friend Mackenzie.
Okay, why?
Because she's amazing. My friend Mackenzie currently understudies Juliet in And Juliet on Broadway.
Okay.
And she just has an amazing voice, and I want to see her sing the crap out of that. And I also think we need to keep up the trend of like hiring Black women to play Elphaba, because they understand what it's like to like live in a skin that is like, you know what I mean? Like, I love the fact that we've given so many women the opportunity to play this role, but I think it's crazy that it took 22 years for a full-time Black Elphaba on Broadway.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild to me.
Because there've been a Black Glinda before, right?
Yes, she was a standby and then she was full-time. There have been Black Elphabas on the West End.
Okay. Mackenzie and Dove Cameron. What a duo.
I would honestly pay to see that. Mackenzie's amazing. Shout out to Mackenzie. Love her so much.
So the cast of Wicked acknowledged that they saw your videos during the press tour.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Take us through finding that out. Where were you? What was your reaction?
I could tell you exactly what happened.
Please.
So I was at the gym. I was doing a sensible chest day.
Mm-hmm.
And this girl that I did community theater with a decade ago, more than that, who I didn't even know, whose number I still had saved in my phone. She texted me a link to this BuzzFeed video on YouTube. And she was like, you need to watch this right now. I was like, ha ha ha, like maybe later I'm at the gym. She's like, no. You need to watch this right now. So I'm watching it and it's like 3 minutes in. I was like, should I be looking out for something? Like, why? And she was like, just wait. And so I'm just like, I'm at the cable machine, just like watching this video. And all of a sudden, Ethan Slater says, Tyler. And I go, I dropped my phone. I was like, this isn't real. I was like, this isn't real. Like, this isn't real. Like, that's not like,
yeah.
And that's when I realized I was like, okay, this really like is viral. Like,
yeah.
Because you see the numbers. It's like, oh yeah, this has 4 million views. Cute. But like, that's like,
it's just a number on your phone. You're like, oh,
yes, literally, yes. I'm like, that's the number 4. Awesome. But then I was like, wait, I sat down. I literally stopped my workout. I sat down on the chair and I was like, is this, it was literally Elphaba Beginner Wizard Advice. I said, did that really just happen? And then I watched it back like a few times and I was like, I started freaking the fuck out. And then I posted it on my Instagram, posted it on Twitter. And then from then on, my phone just I had to shut my phone off at one point because it just like would not stop blowing up. And then the interviewer, his name is Jeff, and we're still buddies to this day via social media. He messaged me on Instagram and he was like, hey, like, looks like you beat me to it. But like, I was so happy to talk about your video, like in this interview, like, if you haven't seen yet, like Ari knows who you are too, winky face. And then he sent me the video of then Ari being like, oh yes, I've seen him. And I was like, this isn't happening. Like, this isn't happening. But then it really made you realize like, whoa, social media is powerful and it is insane. Yeah. Like the fact that Jeff, the interviewer, he didn't even say my name. Like he just said these videos and Ethan Slater was like, Tyler, he's amazing. And I said, this isn't real. Like, this isn't real. And then I was like, I guess I kind of need to keep up like the wiki content because I'm trying to get to that part 2 premiere. You know what I mean?
I think we need to actually get you like in the press room. We need to get you like, at the press junket.
I would live.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about acting because you haven't completely like closed the chapter. You recently starred in a short film, Ruin My Life, which I love. So well done. You killed that.
Thank you.
Essentially, for those who haven't seen it, I highly recommend. I'll link it in the description, but it follows a dynamic between 2 gay friends who kind of walk the line between best friends and lovers. And it's very relatable to, I think, stuff that so many gay individuals go through. How did this project come to you and what made you say yes?
So it's my best friend, Sam. He is a music video like editor and producer, and this was kind of his like passion project. It actually was like a full-length film that he condensed into a short film.
Okay.
And initially he wanted to film it while I was in LA, and so he actually reached out to me and he was like, do you like have people that I could like ask me in it? And I gave him a couple names or whatever, and then it just wound up not happening until I got back. And he was like, I actually would really like it to be you. I was like, great. I'd love to do it. Like, I thought it was just going to be like a fun thing to do. Like, not that I didn't believe in his ability to make it great, but I wasn't expecting it to be so great. He just has a really amazing vision and a really great eye for it. And it's also like, it's very personal to him. And it was his passion project. So he poured so much of himself into it. And it was really cool for me to kind of explore my film acting side a bit, and which I think I definitely relate to much more than like the theater of it all, because like what I said earlier about
it's like a smaller performance. You know, you're not acting to the third balcony back row.
Yes. Yeah. I don't like the bigness of theater. I'm not really that type of person. And it's funny when, like, going back to Bronx Tale, when I went on for a week as the lead, a couple people I have scenes with, they came up to me like in the middle of the week and they were like, were you like trained in film, like in college? Like when I'm up close doing scenes with you, like there is so much nuance and there's so many small moments that are happening on your face that are really, really impactful and would read so well on film. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, I know I never really thought of it that way. I guess that's just like how my acting like lends itself. So it was really cool to kind of stretch that part of like performing. And it was really great. And it wound up being really great. And the ending was quite controversial. If you go through the YouTube comments, a lot of people hated the ending.
I saw them. I think people, I think people just choose to be mad at a lot of things for no reason.
There was a mixed bag. Like there are people who were like, I totally get the ending. It's just like, it's so real. We filmed an alternate ending.
Okay.
But I fought for this one.
Okay.
I was like, listen, it's called Ruin My Life. I think they're both the villains in their own way.
Would you want to do a sequel? Like, would you want to explore those stories more?
I'm so glad you asked because we are almost finished writing the sequel.
Is it a similar format or different?
We're not quite there yet. We're just writing the bare bones of the script first. I actually was the one who started writing it.
Okay.
So there are people in the comments who were like, I want a sequel with a better ending. And Sam was just like, I just don't know how we continue the story. Mm-hmm. And I was really grams of an edible on an airplane, and I just needed to focus my energy somewhere. And I just started writing the sequel. And what I did was I made it like a big time jump to a point where they're at different points in their lives, and they kind of run back into each other, and we see what the relationship becomes. My goal is to show that two people can be so set in how they believe relationships should be, or how they individually want to exist in a relationship, but not have either one of those personal preferences be villainized. Neither one is right or wrong. They're just different ways of thinking about humanity and human connection and those relationships within.
And that those different approaches should be respected. Totally.
And if there's a world in which compromises can happen, that you're not fully abandoning your belief system, then maybe there's a world in which those two people can be together. And sometimes that is the case, and sometimes it's not. And so I just want to explore how two people can really be the hero of their own story and their own beliefs, and kind of how, like, what comes with that, especially in gay culture.
Very cool. I'm excited to see it. Well, Tyler, there's one question that I love to ask everyone when they come on this podcast for the first time. When you look back at a younger version of Tyler, maybe when you're in high school and you're being in a cajillion different productions, or you're in Elon and you're in your freshman, sophomore year, and you're struggling to get cast in shows, what advice would you give to him?
I would tell him that it is everyone's first time on this planet, and we are all figuring it out as we go. And just because it looks like someone has every box checked and they have their entire life figured out, there's something that they're still struggling with. And I would tell him to remind himself, to give him grace, to let himself figure out what it is that's going to be. And that we're all trying to make it work. We're all trying to make it work. There's no time limit to have everything set in stone and figured out. But at the same time, like, life is very short, and you have to enjoy it while you can. And don't waste so much time on trying to make something work and not letting yourself like avoid experiencing things or living your life, because you don't know how long you're going to be here. Mm-hmm. So that's honestly advice I think I would give to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you for that. It's been great talking with you. Do you want to give everyone your socials so they can follow you on your journey? Yes, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Tyler, Tyler _ Dema, Dema. Amazing. Yeah, and if they haven't seen the roulette, they need to plug in. They need to.
There's a playlist. There's a playlist on the top of my page.
Curate
Go
it.
through them all.
You make it so
That's
easy
it.
for people. You guys can follow the podcast on Instagram at UnpackTHT and on TikTok at UnpackThatPod. Thanks again, Tyler. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.